Part 1. Perspective. Between all that has come before us and all that is to come lies the present. In this moment, you can choose to open yourself to new and old ideas that can move your human experience and our human race toward a more peaceful coexistence. Chapter 1. Setting the Stage. We are born, we live, and we die. As we begin our precious life, we instinctively enter a world of transactions. Even as infants, we desire objects we consider valuable, a particular toy, a favorite blanket, a book. This early desire to acquire physical objects not necessary for survival appears to be a universally selected human trait, perhaps to give us an early edge in the competition for resources in our complex, ordered communities. As we mature and begin to plan for our lives and choices away from our parents or guardians, the competition for resources for most of us becomes the central part of our decision-making. Driven by this lifelong competition for resources, our transactional behavior is one of the topics we will explore in the pivot point effect. Human transactionalism is the social barter system we humans facilitate to acquire and exchange material and non-material resources needed for survival and reproduction. Human transactionalism forms the rules of this barter system and drives our decisions on education, work, pastimes, material needs, recreation, and most importantly, our relationships. We so easily dismiss the power of our individual roles in the tide of human civilization, rationalizing that one individual can rarely affect the big picture. But humans possess a remarkable ability to form complex social ideas that can be shared and disseminated. These shared ideas can then merge into shared perspectives, and shared perspectives have the potential to create our group identities. One needs only to sample the day's news to see how group thought and action can empower our social, economic, scientific, and geopolitical environments. More importantly, effective, well-managed human groups can gain tremendous power and influence over our social contracts, mores, belief systems, cultures, scientific advances, nations, and world orders. While groups can empower almost any change we can imagine, we must strive to maintain a measure of our individual compassion as a guardrail for our group's potentially misguided choices, directions, and behavior. Sadly, our human history has shown that, left unchecked, the universal and seemingly inevitable tendency of groups is to move toward greed. Also seemingly inevitable is the use of greed to justify almost any act or behavior to protect the group's continued access to valued resources. As greed in a group reaches some critical mass, normally peaceful people can be compelled to commit heinous atrocities. Throughout eons of cultural and technological advancement, human societies have experimented with all manner of political governance to mediate this disturbingly common theme of group behavior. And while our human timeline bears the scars of our avarice through the corruption of reason, our most significant casualty is the apparent ease with which we historically abandon compassion. We will use the pivot point process to sharpen our awareness of how group identities can hijack and dangerously compromise our individual values and treatment of one another. More importantly, we'll explore methods to resist the pressures of falling into misguided group ideologies in the first place. Indeed, our ongoing goal is to reassess all group interactions through a transactional landscape that includes and highly weights compassion and reason. We'll put our groups to the test. Do they inspire rationality and reasonably peaceful coexistence? It's that simple. A conversation of how we might reclaim our decency toward one another by first reclaiming the natural and rational compassion that lies within us. One word leads to one sentence. One sentence to a paragraph. One paragraph to a chapter, and chapters to a book that could change not only your life, but cause a ripple effect in your community and perhaps throughout the world. Let's begin with simplicity.